Have you seen this photo before? This is the last picture taken of hip-hop mogul Tupac Shakur just minutes before he died on September 7th, 1996. Now, sitting next to him is Death Row Records head Marion, also known as Suge Knight. Here's the person who took it, Leonard Jefferson, and today he testified in the trial of the man accused of orchestrating Tupac's killing. Take a listen to him talk about the moments before and after that picture was taken.
I said, hey, what up, Pop? And then he kind of looked and kind of took like a double take. He said, oh, what up, man? And then I said, hey, where you guys headed? He said, we're headed to the club. You should follow us. It's all right, cool. And then, I don't know, I said, man, let me get a picture real quick. And I had my camera in my center console, so I just grabbed my camera and snapped the picture. After I took the picture, the light changed green, and they took off, and I recognized like one or two of the cars that were behind them from seeing them from LA. So I let them go by, and then they got in front of me, and then I got three cars behind them, behind the BMW, and then we're just driving down Las Vegas Boulevard. We get to Flamingo, and as we're making the right turn, I get on the phone. I was calling California Pizza Kitchen to cancel my food order.
Because you're heading to the club, right? You don't need CPK anymore.
Yeah, I don't need CPK. So while I was on the phone with him like 30 seconds or so, and then all of a sudden I just hear pop, pop, pop.
CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman has been following this trial very closely. Katrina, last hour we actually heard from the man on trial, Dwayne Davis. What did he say?
This was a rare moment where you hear the defendant speaking out in court. And notably, the jury was out of the room, but this was something that Davis said to the judge. And he told her, he said that he got beaten up by the cops. They're trying to attack him in that courtroom. They're trying to send him to prison. And he says that actually outside of court, things are happening as well. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
They keep giving out my address. They broke in my house. Vandalized my house, vandalized my wife's car, you know what I'm saying, because they keep giving out our address. Now they gave out my sister's address. This stuff is wrong.
I've heard it's going on both ways, that there's concerns both ways.
They're wrong.
I've admonished them to talk to their witnesses and anyone they can communicate about these issues, okay? So your attorney let me know what's going on.
I get beat up by the cops. The guy attacked me in here, sent me to prison. This is wrong, and it's mostly this guy.
I mean, the judge made it clear to both sides that the prosecution needs to talk to their witnesses, and she also told Davis's attorney that he can't be talking to witnesses either. So we got this little flavor of the fact that there's apparently things happening outside of the court as this trial is going on.
Yeah, it was a little tricky to hear him there, Katrina, but what else happened in court today?
Well, I mean, so for one, as you were saying in the intro, we learned about this iconic photo from the night that Tupac Shakur was killed, how someone happened to know him, take that picture, and then be in the entourage right before Tupac was shot. So it was really interesting to learn about where that came from. But what's also been notable about this trial is the jury is hearing Davis, in his own words, talk about what happened the night of that shooting. And there are a number of things. There's this 2008 secret police interview that the jury got to hear. There's also Davis's own memoir and another recording from 2009. But let's take a little bit of a listen to Davis talking about what happened when Tupac was shot.
Why they start chasing him? You think?
Y'all shot at?
Somebody fired around?
Yeah.
Okay. Who fired around?
Nephew. Orlando.
Orlando, okay.
So we hear Davis saying that it was actually his nephew, Orlando Anderson, who had gotten beaten up earlier that night by Shakur and his crew, who supposedly shot Tupac Shakur. Something he also said is that if Tupac had been on his side, he said, I would have blasted. And something else that's just notable that's come up in these recordings is he also talks about Sean Diddy Combs. Davis alleges that Combs actually tried to pay him $1 million to kill Shakur and Suge Knight.
Wow, that was definitely a bombshell. We'll see what happens with that testimony. All right, Katrina, thank you so much.
30 years after his death, the trial begins today for the murder of rap star Tupac Shakur. Prosecutors say Dwayne Keefe D. Davis orchestrated the 1996 killing in Las Vegas. Davis has been charged with murder, and so far he has pled not guilty. I want to bring in celebrity attorney Chris Melcher for more on this story. So, Chris, just take us back a little bit. Remind us of how we got here. What happened that night? Why has it taken almost 3 decades to go to trial?
Well, none of the witnesses said they saw anything. So this was a drive-by shooting, one car into another, and everyone that was there said, hey, we didn't see anything. And so that's why it's taken so long. And then finally, we have the defendant, Keefe D., who's given multiple statements implicating himself. And the prosecution decided, well, hey, if he's going to own up to this crime, we're going to prosecute him.
So the prosecution is expected to use his own account of the killing, right? He wrote this book, and the book said, you know, had a bunch of stuff in there, like he was in the car. And now we're hearing, well, he then later sort of told people that the stuff that he wrote in the book was not real. He was just using it to sell books, and it was for entertainment purposes. Explain that. Is that a legal leg to stand on? And how will the prosecution use that?
Well, Vlad, this is a really difficult situation where the defendant is the star witness for the prosecution, leaving then the defendant to say, well, you can't trust what I have to say. I lied in all those statements. I was trying to gain notoriety or make money. So I believe the jury is going to want corroboration or independent evidence establishing that Keefe D was responsible beyond his own words. And I'm waiting to see whether the prosecution has any of that evidence, because we haven't heard about that yet.
So do we know who might be on the prosecutor's witness list? Like, who can they lean on here?
Well, there's like 200 witnesses. The most interesting is Marion Suge Knight. He was the driver of the car that Tupac was in, also shot himself. So he would have been in a position to possibly have seen who was in that vehicle. But he gave a statement afterwards saying that he did not see who was in there. And also he is adamant that he does not want to be involved, and he won't give witness against anyone, even if it was the person who killed his friend. And I got to think if he's hauled into that courtroom, or even if he doesn't appear, it's going to help the defense to sow some reasonable doubt.
I just wonder, from a defense perspective, when you think about their strategy, what is it here?
The strategy is to say, hey, this happened a long time ago. We don't have any direct witnesses. There's no direct evidence to establish the statements. And the defendant made implicated himself to get notoriety. And we need something more to convict someone. It's reasonable doubt.
All right, Chris Melcher, thank you so much.
I need you to sit down for this one, because this is not a normal trial update. This is the case. The one that's been unsolved, half-solved, whispered about for almost 30 years, and today we got 2 separate bombshells in the same courtroom on the same day. Let's get into it. So first, this photo. Look at this. That is Tupac. That is Suge Knight next to him. And the man who took this picture, Leonard Jefferson, just testified. Now here's what gets me. This isn't some random paparazzi shot. This dude knew Tupac. He pulled up next to him at a red light in Vegas and just said, "What's up? Let's hear it." I said, "Hey, what up, Pop? Let me get a picture real quick." Bro, he asked for a picture at a stoplight. That's it. That's how casual this moment was. Nobody in that car had any idea what was about to happen. And then listen to this part. The light turns green, they pull off, and Jefferson ends up driving behind them. Not because he's following them for some sinister reason. He recognized cars from LA in that caravan. He's literally just going the same direction, ends up boxed in with 3 cars behind him, behind Tupac's BMW. And then this detail is wild to me. While all of this is happening, while he's driving right next to the car Tupac is in, dude is on the phone canceling a food order. California Pizza Kitchen. Think about that. In the middle of what's about to become one of the most infamous nights in hip-hop history, there's a guy on hold with CPK trying to cancel breadsticks. And then he hears it. One pop, that's how he describes it. Not gunfire, not chaos, just pop. That's the moment. Now let's pivot, because the second half of today's testimony is arguably even bigger. The man on trial, Dwayne Davis, also known as Keefe D., actually spoke in open court today. Jury wasn't even in the room for this part, but he went off to the judge directly. He's claiming police beat him up. He's claiming his house got vandalized, his wife's car got vandalized, and that his sister's address got leaked. Now, the judge's response is the part I want you to actually pay attention to, because she didn't dismiss it. She said she's heard concerns going both ways and told both sides, prosecution and defense, to get their people in line about contacting witnesses. That's a judge telling the whole courtroom, something's happening outside these walls and I know it. So that's tension building in real time, on top of the actual case. Now here's the part that's going to be all over the internet by tonight. The jury got to hear Davis in his own voice from old recordings. A 2008 secret police interview, his own memoir, and a 2009 recording. And in one of these clips, he's asked directly who fired the shots. Listen to this exchange. Who fired the round? Nephew. Orlando. That's Orlando Anderson being named his own nephew as the shooter. And the context CBS gives us is that Anderson had gotten into a fight with Tupac and his crew earlier that same night at the MGM Grand. So the prosecution's theory, according to this reporting, is retaliation. And then Davis says something even colder in these tapes. He says if Tupac had been on his side, meaning close to him personally, he would have blasted too. That's the guy who's sitting in that courtroom right now, saying that about himself in his own recorded words years before he was ever charged. And then last thing, and this is the one people are going to be talking about, Davis reportedly alleges in these recordings that Sean Diddy, Combs offered him $1 million to kill both Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight. Now I want to be really careful here. This is Davis's claim, from his own recorded statements being presented in court. It's testimony, not a proven fact, and Combs has not been charged in connection with this. But the fact that this name is now sitting inside active murder trial testimony, that's massive, and it's going to generate headlines regardless of what happens with it legally. So where does this leave us? We've got a photo that captures the literal last calm second of Tupac's life. We've got a defendant accusing police of intimidation in open court. We've got his own decades-old voice naming his nephew as the shooter. And we've got a bombshell allegation involving one of the biggest names in music, sitting untested inside a criminal trial. This case has been cold for almost 30 years, and in one day it just got hot again. I want to know what you guys think. Drop it in the comments. I'm reading every single one. If you want me to break down the Orlando Anderson angle or the Diddy allegation specifically in a deeper video, let me know below. Like, subscribe, notifications on, because this trial is not slowing down, and neither are we.